The conquests of Philip. King Philip II of Macedonia was an ancient Greek king who ruled from 359 BCE to his assassination in 336 BCE. He was the father of Alexander the Great. Philip II persuaded Macedonian armies to declare him king after his brother died in warfare. He declared two goals. First, to unify and bring peace to Greece, and second, to liberate the Greek city-states in Asia Minor from Persian control. He was a skillful diplomat who made economic improvements. In conquered lands, his army was what helped him succeed. From 354 to 359 BCE, he conquered the Balkans from Danube to the Aegean coast and from the Adriatic to the Black Sea. He established new towns and employed locals to administration. He won allies, defeated armies of the city-states, and mediated a war between two Greek city-states. He was elected president of the Pythian Games at Delphi in 346 BCE. He was met in battle with Athens, defeating them at Chaeronea in 338 BCE. He was assassinated in 336. His 20-year-old son, Alexander, continued his mission.
No stranger to warfare, Alexander the Great fought with his father in Athens at the Battle of Chaeronea. His army conquered lands from Egypt in the west to the Indus Valley in the east. Alexander the Great's empire was the largest of its time. In 324 BCE, he declared himself a god. He followed the policy of benevolent despotism, but implemented it after power was demonstrated. After assuming the throne, Alexander the Great marched north to the Danube River to suppress revolts in Thrace. Mistakenly informed that Alexander was skilled in battle, Thebes revolted against local forces, and Alexander marched back to Thebes, killed 6,000 people, and sold everyone else into slavery. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed to Asia, being the first major victory at Granicus. He went south to force Persians out of Greek cities that lined the Ionian coast. Alexander marched east through Anatolia with 3,500 Greek troops in 333 BCE and forced the 300,000-man army of Persian Emperor Darius III into flight. He continued south to the coast of East Mediterranean and killed 17,000 men and sold 30,000 women and children into slavery. Everywhere else, Alexander respected local religions, ruling through local hierarchies and maintaining local tax rates. To get rid of Persia, Alexander conquered Egypt and was welcomed as Egypt's liberator from Persian rule and treated as a god. At the west end of the Nile Delta, Alexander laid foundations for the most attractive and cultured city of Mediterranean coast, Alexandria. Alexander set out to conquer the Persian Empire and make it his own.
Alexander enjoyed his conquests so much that he began to extend outward to conquer the Persian Empire. He marched through Mesopotamia into Gaugamela in 331 BCE and faced down the Persian Emperor Darius III and won. Alexander destroyed Persia's capital Persepolis, leaving the cities of Babylon, Susa, and Pasargad open to him. After capturing the heart of Persia, Alexander expanded east, capturing from the Indus River Valley to Sogdiana. Alexander wished to continue his conquest of India to the Ganges, but his troops pulled a mutiny and abandoned him. Upon Alexander's return, he contracted a fever and consequently died. He was only 33 years old. There was much debate that under the ushering of his former teacher Aristotle, Alexander was poisoned. In a rage to be his successor, his generals killed Alexander's wife Roxanne and his 13-year-old son. Alexander's empire did not last long after he died. Within 2 generations, local powers regained control of India and Afghanistan. The Greeks returned to their system of warring city-states. Macedonia occasionally meddled in Greek affairs, but eventually became its own kingdom.
From Alexander's empire emerged two kingdoms: Egypt, under the dynasty of Ptolemy, which ruled through a Greek and Macedonian elite until the Roman conquest, and the empire established by Seleucus I Nicator, who was the governor of Babylon during the split of the empire. He added Iran, Afghanistan, and Anatolia to his domain. Alexander's legacies include that he made the language known as Koine and the culture of Greece dominant among the ruling intellectual and commercial elites from the Mediterranean, east to India, Afghanistan, and the borders of Russia, and as south as far as Egypt. Many people have followed Alexander's conquest to transmit Greek culture. At the same time, local customs endured and transformed the simplicity of the earlier Hellenic culture into the more complex and elaborate Hellenistic culture that flourished from the time of Alexander until the death of the Macedonian queen of Egypt, Cleopatra. To facilitate travel and commerce, as well as conquest and administration, Alexander built roads, canals, and whole new cities, including at least 16 Alexandrias. Alexandria was the metropolis in Egypt, which became the leading city of its day, housing palaces, administrative centers, theaters, the greatest library of Greek knowledge, and his tomb. At the eastern end of the empire, on the Oxus River, which is now Uzbekistan, the Greeks constructed, on Persian foundation, Ai-Khanum. It is believed to be Alexandria's Oxiana, a lost city from the age of Alexander the Great. Between Alexandria in Egypt and Ai-Khanum in Central Asia were dozens of citizens and small towns, which serves as seeds of Greek culture throughout the empire. The Alexandrian Empire and its successors built an Hellenistic ecumeny, a unified urban culture encompassing vast lands and diverse peoples. Some of its cities retained strong elements of their pre-Alexandrian culture and even their autonomy. These were the cities of Greek heartlands such as Athens, Sparta, Thebes, Corinth, and Delphi. Others were cities of the empire, built later by Alexander and his successors, either from the ground up or on existing but relatively minor urban bases. These cities served as new regional capitals to administer the new empire, to extend its economy, and to broadcast its culture.
Alexander and his successors administered their empire through the already existing indigenous urban framework, while adding some of their own principal institutions. Some examples of these include temples to Greek gods located on a walled acropolis, theaters, agoras, civic buildings such as council chambers and town halls, gymnasia, and stadia.
There is a sharp division between cities and their very Hellenized high culture and rural areas. The empire encouraged trade and culture. European, African, and Asian trade routes intersected Taxila, Ai-Khanum, Bigram, and Merv. Persians began creating an Asian-African-European ecumeny. Alexander continued it. Rome was already rising by the time of Alexander. They would later extend a similar imperial mission throughout much of Europe to the west and north, though Rome would not control the east.